Boom. Welcome back, everybody, to the Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. I'm your host, Eric Anthony, and there's my co-host, Wonder Dave. Wonderful as always. Dave, how you doing, buddy?
Wonderful, thanks, dude. Armed and dangerous.
Fantastic. So for those that are tuning in on the different for those of us who are watching on YouTube, you'll understand why I'm laughing at Dave. Thank you for tuning in. Please hit that rate and subscribe button. Everybody that's with us live on Twitch, we love you for being here. Hope you enjoy the show. If you're listening on any other podcast platform, please drive carefully if you're listening in your car and give us a thumbs up and a subscribe. And then if you and then if you want to get all of our archives, please visit us at omniversecomics.guide, where you can get all of our comic book reading orders that Dave lovingly puts together, all of our previous episodes, our uh, collector item specials, our interviews. It's all there, omniversecomics.guide. Yeah, you got to be careful when you're driving your car. I've listened to
You've
podcasts
got to
where
be careful. If you're listening to a podcast, make sure you're driving a car.
you know how
It's the
many
only time you
podcasts?
can do it.
Anyways, bring on the bad guys.
Yes.
Omniversecomics.guide. Another one for the archives. And this time, as you can just tell by Dave's tiara, we're going to be talking
Yeah.
about Wonder Woman. I don't know if anybody would have guessed that in the
Well, it's
chat on our
jaunty.
live, but this is going to be fun.
No one did.
We had this one in the works for a little bit. I did a lot of Wonder Woman reading last year,
About 4 months.
but I was happy I did because I got to read a lot of fun comics in the process. There was a little bit of a delay, Dave, so I hope I don't interrupt you as we do this. Everybody bear
That's
with
right.
us. But who goes first this week?
You.
All right. So my first pick for this week, bring on the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman edition. I'm gonna go to Old Faithful. This was a series that I had not read. It sat on my shelf for a couple of years in omnibus form, but when I finally had a good reason to do some research on Wonder Woman, I read the entire thing. The story I'm going to list is featured in this omnibus. So that's why I'm showing it's not the whole thing. I'm not listing the whole thing, but I do want to
Yeah.
say if you want to get into Wonder Woman, there's a lot of good jumping on points, which I'm going to try to recommend in this episode. But this Omni, it's really, really worth it. And he does some landmark work. And so the first story I'm going to mention is the first issues. Gods and Mortals. The villain that we're going to focus on here is Ares, who is the Wonder Woman's, I guess, Joker, her Lex Luthor. It's the villain that always comes around at some point in time. The
Mm.
movie, Wonder Woman movie, he was the main villain. But in this one, it's the retelling of her origin on Themyscira. Where do all the gods live? The Greek gods?
Olympus?
Olympus, the art on Olympus
Kent.
that they show is
Berkshire.
is just a feast for the eyes. And then of course you've got Paradise Island. And in this is where she does her whole contest to prove that she's the worthy one. She goes back to the mainland. She's properly being integrated into society. She doesn't speak the language,
Mm.
and she finds herself in the middle of a World War III potentially being started with, of course, Ares behind the plot. I don't want to give more away. There's so much richness in the storytelling and the artwork, but it's a great place to start. You got Ares as, her main foe. So you're getting all the good stuff, the first 6 issues or so, and there's so many new characters introduced to her world where she establishes herself in Boston and really she has to learn the language. It's not just I'm Wonder Woman and I can do everything.
Bostonish.
Yes, yes. I mean, you can't go wrong with George Perez on Wonder Woman. Start from the beginning. It'll be worth your while. And the love that a lot of, you think of someone like Phil Jimenez, who became known for his Wonder Woman run. It is a
True.
direct inspiration from George Perez.
It's funny because even though I'd read a few, not necessarily Wonder Woman stories, but a few stories with Wonder Woman in, it wasn't until I tried reading the George Perez stuff the first time that I realized how closely tied it was to all the Pantheon of Olympus. I had no idea. I really
Yeah,
didn't know. So
yeah.
it really threw me. So, of course, when I was reading this, I'm still getting my head around this. Like, it was whatever I remembered based on the TV show with Linda Carter. Sorry, it was based on whatever that was, which was just a woman in a sort of pseudo bikini running around. Um, yeah, I was very young when that was on, so I think it had a bit of an influence. But I didn't really know what it was about. So that was the first time. So I want to go back and read. This will come up again later. This will loop back around. But I want to read it again without that shock factor and just take it in
Hmm.
because I've reread a bit recently to do the Millennium reading order. Just going, I don't remember a lot of this stuff and all the things that he tied into the new post-crisis mythology was huge.
It's huge.
It was really different and it really was taking a much more modern approach. But I think because it had that old school kind of Olympian gods thing,
Yeah.
it seemed like such a contrast. But that was actually is why it works.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm jumping forward in time
Okay.
to what was probably the first Wonder Woman story I did read.
Okay.
Um, I'm assuming because I don't remember anything before. It was Wonder Woman 219. I'm just pulling out this one issue from a bad guy perspective. The villain in it was actually the main villain from the second Wonder Woman film. What was it, 1984, whatever they called it? I don't know. I haven't seen it. Isn't
Don't.
that what's his Pedro Pascal,
Yeah.
Pasco Pedral, whatever his
Yeah.
name is?
Yeah, it was him.
And to me, it was weird because he didn't seem like a Wonder Woman villain, really, to me in many ways. But of course, then this story was really famous for quite a while, and it was probably the first one I read. And I kind of went, oh yeah. But I haven't read it in a long time, and I gave it a reread recently. What's quite cool about it was making him full on switch to a villain. And I know a lot of people probably didn't like that who'd been around with DC since the 80s. He was always a sketchy businessman guy. I mean,
Hmm.
they all are by the sound of things. But he goes full villain. And, he's stolen Brother Eye from Batman, control of Brother Eye, which, that's there to keep the heroes in control if they lose control. It's keeping them in check. So the full story is called Sacrifice. So Wonder Woman 219 is just part of that four-part story, which is part of a bigger crossover called the OMAC Project, which is part of an even bigger storyline called Countdown to Infinite Crisis, which is technically part of a bigger thing, which is Infinite Crisis. It's up to you, and this is why I've not picked the four issues. I've just picked this one because this is ultimately the fight, even though it's not a fight edition that we're doing, a fight episode. But in this part, he takes control of Superman, and Wonder Woman is having to fight for her life because he's made Superman think that she's Doomsday, and Doomsday's just murdered Lois. She's, for all intents and purposes, fighting Maxwell Lord, who's controlling this, but she's trying not to hurt Superman. And it starts to get pretty brutal. So it's written by Greg Rucka, who I'm sure will get more than one mention tonight. The art's a bit of a mix though, because it's Tom Derenick, George Janty, Carl Kerschel, David Lopez, and Rags Morales.
Hmm.
So it's a bit choppy in that way. There are some bits where it changes and you don't notice. There are some bits where you go, oh, and it's not bad. It's just it's the fifth artist now at this point.
Yeah.
It's a key moment, and even if he's just a villain for that one story arc for Wonder Woman, it's a moment that changes her course for quite some time.
It changes the course of DC Universe.
It does. Yeah.
It's a hallmark moment. It is one of the, as far as DC Comics go, for like before and after moments, this was a major rift in the whole DC universe as far as how the characters react, what happens to the
Yeah.
Justice League. Like it has major consequences for everybody. Number two for me, for those that have are listening to the show for the first time, for the record, me and Dave are both, I think I can speak for you. Me and you are both big fans of the Wonder Woman New 52 run. It's
Yeah, I'd say so.
it's definitely a worthwhile read. Another Omni that if you pick that one up, you get a nice self-contained story. But I'm not going to pick anything from there this time. But I wanted to give it an honorable mention. But I am going to pick something from the New 52. And that is, so I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before. It's kind of a hidden gem, and I'm known for hidden gems. Superman Wonder Woman, Volume
Yes.
1, Power Couple. This collects issues 1 to 7 of this series from Charles Soule, Tony S. Daniel on the art. And if you want to bring on the bad guys, these 7 issues, you get Doomsday, you get Apollo, and you get Zod. I mean, Tony
Ah,
S. Daniel is known for those action-packed comics, those action-packed sequences. There's a lot of fight scenes in here that I might mention down the line in another episode, but it's full
I think
of,
there may have been, I think it may have been in a fight episode, but only part of it, I think. I think.
I wouldn't be surprised. You got these two different characters that everybody's always wanted to see together because of how similar they are, even though they're different. Both of them
Yeah,
are
and
looked
how
upon
famous
as
they are.
how famous they are. They're both looked upon as gods. One person doesn't see themselves as that. The other person accepts the fact that they are and has to still find a way to be humble. But now they make this power couple, this dream matchup that comic book fans always wondered what would it be like if they were an actual power couple. This gives you an example of the levels of power that they would have to face, the threat levels that they face. So if you're looking for a good Wonder Woman team up where she's kicking ass with some villains, her own as well as her boyfriend's in this case,
Yeah.
this is a really really fun read. And the main matchup turns out to be Zod and Feora versus
Who's
Superman and Wonder Woman.
who's Feora again?
It's Zod's girlfriend. It's usually Ursa,
Oh,
but in this one she's named Feora. Check this out.
yeah.
Charles Soule, Tony S. Daniel, Superman, Wonder Woman, 1 to 7.
I really like that first story arc. It's great. It's really good fun.
Dave, you're number
I
two.
think that's fair. Hello, it's time for my number two. I will say what I was going to throw up, not physically, was this is one of the collector editions that you can find Wonder Woman 219 in. So it is part of a larger story, or you can read it in something smaller. I think I just popped a disc. At least I remembered the S.
Oh, I got it. You could also find that in this format. That's the story here of just
There we go.
sacrifice.
So that's just sacrifice, yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got options out there for that one. Sorry, bit of a delay on that. There we go. I don't have a book handy for this one. I've recently just read this. It might have been the first time actually. So what I wanted to do for this was try and find stories I hadn't read before. And full disclosure, some of the stuff I was finding wasn't the best. There was some interesting stuff, and I am going to try and give you some strong recommendations. But there are a couple that maybe weren't the greatest. So when it came to honing it down to a five, it was quite tough. I should have maybe just listed some of the stuff I knew I loved the most as well, but I need to reread stuff. So this was a fresh one for me. This is a mid 90s story that's probably one of the best known, at least in terms of the fact that it exists. It's the contest stroke the challenge of Artemis. It's recently been covered on Omniverse as two separate crossover events. One leads into the other. Yeah, it is. Look, it is. I
Yeah,
really
it
love
is.
that cover.
Yeah, it's a great cover.
It looks really chunky, that.
Yeah. It's got all 12 issues and then a couple extra stuff from Diodato.
But yeah, if you want to go and find out what happens or just read all of it in if you really want to, you can go over to omniversecomics.guide. This story is by William Messner Loebs, sometimes known as Bill Messner Loebs, and like we said, Mike Diodato. So Themyscira has been missing for a while, and Wonder Woman's just had a big old scrap with Cersei. Now, Cersei's not the person I'm focusing on for this, but she has a fight with Cersei, and Cersei basically says, you can get back to. I've been blocking you from getting there, but Themyscira is back now. So off you go. So she trundles off, doesn't she, to Themyscira, and then she ends up almost immediately being engaged in a competition for a contest, rather, for the right to be Wonder Woman. So Hippolyta basically implies that she failed as Wonder Woman. So she's going to open it up to someone else to take the title. Through Wonder Woman Volume 2, the 87 volume, 90, 0, 91 to 100, plus those other tie-ins you can read optionally. But one of the competitors is Artemis. I mean, you can see from the cover if you pick up the trade, you can see who wins that one.
Hmm.
So Artemis ends up being a very different kind of competitor or opponent for Wonder Woman. She's not necessarily an out and out villain. She's someone who wants to take that role from her. And if you read all of the stuff, including the Justice League America issues, you see that she's not just stopping at Wonder Woman. She's going for everything. She wants leadership of the Justice League as well. So it's a bit of a strange one in a lot of ways. It's got a certain 90s-ness to it, but it also feels a little rushed at the end. And I wonder if that's because they decided to put John Byrne back on the series with 101 and he had to wrap up a lot of storylines. There are other villains in the storyline, including Cheetah, the White Magician, that big name. Unfortunately, I think it could have done with having a bit more Artemis in it because she basically appears every so often and goes, I've solved this, I've solved that, I've solved that. and you only see it very briefly, if at all.
Yeah.
But I love the character. I just love her. I think I clearly have a thing for powerful redheads, because with Dark Phoenix, Artemis, I'm sure there are a few others that I now can't think of, but I just love that character. I think she's cool. Of course, I mean, I could have mentioned a series she was in that I have mentioned previously, which I did like, even though I know a lot of other people didn't like it, which was Red Hood and the Outlaws. It was the second series of that, which had Bizarro, Artemis, and Red Hood as a kind of a dark trinity. But I
Mhm.
loved her in that. I just loved the character, whatever variation it is. So there's just something about her. I just think she's really cool.
The beginning of this storyline, those first four issues of the contest, there's a lot of promise in it. And I think you're right about the fact that they didn't utilize the replacement Wonder Woman a little bit more and make her a little bit more of a
Yeah.
focus of the main title. Even though we don't lose Diana, it's not like she disappears like you do with um, Death of Superman or Nightfall, where you've got
Yeah.
a completely new person that's becomes the main character. Diana's still the main character in the story, which doesn't it kind of hurts it
Yeah, it
because of the
does.
fact that she loses. And you kind of
Mm.
wonder what has she lost other than the costume,
Well, she
right?
she loses a lot of the costume that covers her skin as it seems to get smaller for this
Yeah.
because she gets a different outfit and it's basically a bikini with a jacket.
Moving on to number three, I'm gonna go back to Greg Rucka. Like you said, we're gonna mention him a couple times in this episode. I'm gonna take it back to the very beginning of his work on Wonder Woman, which was Wonder Woman Hiketeia. This is a controversial pick because we're bringing on the bad guys, and the opponent that she faces in this book is Batman.
Yeah.
But I listed the Aaron Yes, is that the right way to say it? Which are the Aaron Yes were like these maidens, these Amazonian maidens that hold Diana to the pledge that she makes at the beginning of this book. So the premise is a girl approaches Diana's home and asks for refuge for a crime that she's committed, and she calls on the oath of Hiketeia. And it's an old Amazonian oath, kind of like I guess Parley, give me refuge, give me a chance to save myself because she's committed a crime, trying to figure out who committed this crime. So that's how their paths cross. And Batman says she's not innocent for what she did, regardless of her justification. And Wonder Woman is saying my Amazonian oath has to protect this woman, and there is a justification for what she did. So she's caught between the crosshairs of the oath that she's made and these Amazon maidens who are holding her to it, or they'll get retribution. But also, she has to stop Batman from his form of justice to bring this criminal in. So it's a Greek. It plays out like a Greek tragedy.
Pyrenees.
Erinese.
Pyrenees.
Erinese. Okay.
Erinese.
Erinese. Thank you. So that's the premise of the book. It again is one of those moments like Sacrifice where you really put Wonder Woman's character to the test, where you check her morals, check her ethics, and they do differ from Superman and Batman, which makes her interesting. But also, these are the moments where you kind of look at Batman and it's like, okay, chill out. She's got to do what she's got to do here. Trust your friend. But also, what have you gotten yourself into, Diana? And how can you really explain this away? So it's one of those often recommended Wonder Woman stories to get into Wonder Woman, see if you like it. You got the Batman element that, of course, attracts people. I didn't want to pick a Trinity story necessarily with Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, but I got Superman team up in there. I got a Batman facing off against Wonder Woman with this one, but this one has a lot of drama to it, a lot of Greek tragedy drama surrounding it. So it's hard to say who the villain is, but I'm gonna go with the Aaroness.
Oh,
Aaroness.
let me try it again.
Yeah.
Bellend.
I might have pressed the wrong button.
So
Bellend.
that's the
Bellend.
that yeah.
Bellend.
I think we got Aaron S this time. Bellend.
Yeah,
Um,
that was it.
so yes, this is the beginning of Greg Rucka's run. You can find it in volume one of this collection here, or in
Mhm.
the omnibus that has been published last year.
Let's take a little look at what the most popular character reading orders have been on omniversecomics.guide. At number 5, Hulk by Peter David from 1987 to 1992 has had a massive surge. Number 4, X-Men Family 1971 to 1977. 3, Invincible 2000 up. I will be adding the Beast Dude stuff soon. Number 2, Transformers 1984 to 1994. It's the Marvel US run. And at number 1, as always, Old Faithful Ultimate Spider-Man 2000 to 2018.
Quick, simple, straight to the point. Back
I've
to
been
our
called that
countdown.
before. Here, there were some comments that I didn't see before.
Okay.
Just to touch them up for a minute. Scrub said, I'm interested for this new Batman Wonder Woman series that Jim Chung is drawing, which I'm also quite excited about. It looks gorgeous. The other was from Omega Bread. I love the cover during the arc where Diana has her boot on Batman's neck, which is the Hiketeia. It's subtly fetishistic, and the main reason why I bought a Batman mask of Mistress Bertha, the local dominatrix. Why do I read your comments out loud, Bread? Why? Why do I go in so wide-eyed and innocently? Don't say anything.
You always gotta
Okay,
you gotta read you gotta read Omega Bread's comments before you read Omega Bread's comments.
I read the first 2 lines and thought I was safe.
You're never
Stupid
safe.
boy.
You're never
No,
safe.
no one is safe. Okay,
All
my
right.
third choice for tonight. Admittedly, this was my on the cusp of not going in. So one of the things I do like about DC is that even though they've got their all the characters have their little rogues galleries, you do get these storylines where a lot of the big characters will take on someone interesting, impossible, whatever it is, but it's a one-off character, and sometimes that has a real effect on the character going forward. Sometimes it just feels like one of those moments, like, do you remember when this happened? Like Deacon Blackfire for Batman doesn't necessarily work to bring him back. With Wonder Woman, there's quite a lengthy story with a villain who actually has very close ties to her, and he's not in it an awful lot outside of this 8-part storyline. The villain is Cronus and the children of Cronus, so his all his little kidlings. It's from Wonder Woman 143 to 150. It's 2 story arcs really. It's Devastation and God War. God War is now available on omniversecomics.guide. It isn't, but I'll be adding it before this goes out. It's written by Eric Luke, the art's by Yannick Paquette, which again makes it for me, and some of the art's by Matthew Clark. To put Cronus in context, Cronus is the father of Zeus, and he's also the son of Uranus. So he comes out of Uranus, but yeah, he's also the father of Zeus. So he comes back and he takes out all the Olympian gods. And then Wonder Woman's powerless, and he basically sets her on the run on Earth, and no one can interfere. She's not allowed to call the Justice League, and she has to fight to survive. I mean, before that even happens, he's got to take out one of the children of Cronus, and she's powerful enough. She's called Devastation. So even when she gets past Devastation, it's not over. So she's got to deal with all the children of Cronus, and eventually will obviously have to face Cronus himself. So as a near powerless Wonder Woman, she finds allies in another pantheon of gods when Cronus wipes out the Hindu gods. I don't know if they'd allow that to go through now. They're basically attacking another, existing religion. But that's what they did at the time in when was it? 1999. It's not that long ago, but yeah, so she gets a couple of Hindu characters on her side, and also Zeus, who it's a bit reminiscent of a Thor story arc, I thought, where Odin goes missing and they find him as a drunk.
hmm
It's that. But yeah, so Cronus is like a big major threat. It's an 8-part storyline with this big major threat, plus Wonder Woman, Secret Files and Origins #2, and it culminates in issue 150. So it's like the big blowout finale. Why not have her face impossible odds against a god that's more powerful than Zeus, even, than more powerful than Ares? So it really leans into the pantheon stuff, but it's a rarity. It's not the usual one of the usual gods that she's facing. But yeah, it's an interesting story. It may be not one of the best stories. I feel like I'm really not selling anything tonight, but it's not one of the best stories I've read. But I mean, in terms of like making her run the gauntlet, it's a pretty big deal.
Okay, my number 4. So I'm going back to the George Perez stuff, and this is Challenge of the Gods, back in this volume. So later on in this run, the villain, you brought up Cronus. The villain in this one is Zeus. So Zeus is very inappropriate in this series. Like there's things that he's advances that he makes that are just he's shameless. So he keeps trying to propose to Diana to make her one of his wives. She keeps refuting
Mm.
him. She keeps turning him down, and he can't take it anymore. He's like, you know what? Keep refusing the God of gods here. You're not going to accept my marriage proposal? Seriously? I'm going to make you face the challenge of the gods. So Diana goes through a gauntlet. So she's facing the Hydra, all of these mythological Greek characters. I think she faces,
Minotaur,
yeah,
might be harpies.
she's facing everybody in this gauntlet, and it's she goes into the underworld. So it's not even just her fighting these characters in the city. It's her real in the depths of the Greek
It's
mythology.
in like the behind the doors of doom or something, or the corridor of doom under Themyscira.
Something
Is that
I
right?
don't remember. I don't remember, I'll be honest. But having read it, I'm like, why am I having so much fun with this story? And the covers again were solid. And before you know it, you're lost in this Amazonian mythological thing of all of these Greek gods that you're facing. And again, if it harkens back to that feeling you get with Thor, right? That
Mm.
she's a fair, I guess, comparison because of that whole mythology aspect of it, one with the Greek, one with the Norse, but this one was really good. Seeing her have to use all of her different attributes and powers and figuring out ways to get out of these situations, almost playing out like a video game, right? So
Yeah,
that part of your brain where it's like everything is another level, and now what is she gonna do? So Challenge of the Gods is one of those real highlights that I think in George Perez's career in this particular one run of Wonder Woman, but just seeing him draw all of this stuff as well. Like you really get lost in
really
this
cool.
world. Yeah. Do you know the
Yeah.
issue numbers that were you able to find them?
Yes, I didn't look it up. They, let me just do it. I
Don't
was
worry, don't
gonna,
worry.
because the thing is, it's actually part of Millennium, the DC crossover from 1988, I think it
Mm-hmm.
was,
Mm-hmm.
which is covered on omniversecomics.guide. So if you want to see how Challenge of the Gods fits in to that storyline, you can see that. So it's included in there, but you can read it separately. I think it's Wonder Woman 10 to 14.
Okay, so it's right in the middle.
Yeah.
Right in
There
the
is an
middle.
additional villain in there playing with things, but I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Dave, number 4, take it away.
Number four. Well, now, we briefly touched on Brian Azzarello's run, and I know we've mentioned it a few times, and I know that we sing its praises every so often, but sometimes it's not even in a list. It's just, oh, by the way, if you haven't read it, please, please, please read it. I am picking one issue of it tonight so I can focus on the villain. It's the firstborn, he is Zeus's firstborn. Obviously, that's why he's called the firstborn. But Zeus has manipulated and suggested that he is going to take Zeus's place. So Zeus wants him dead, but Hera, I think, can't kill him. She doesn't want to kill him, so she leaves him to be raised by hyenas and beasts. So he ends up surviving. And then because, it's the gods, he ends up sticking it in some animals, and then he gets weird offspring that's kind of hyena people. Because that's how the gods roll, isn't it? Like, who does it with horses? Doesn't Ares do it with horses? Like,
I
come
don't
on.
know.
Ares
Greeks.
in Marvel does it with the horses, I think. It's all a bit strange. But hey, you know what? Sometimes it gets lonely. So he is he was at one point roaming the earth as this unstoppable thing. He was trying to get the gods' attention. They just kept refusing him. Wonder Woman number 23.2 is the origin. It's a Villains Month issue, and a lot of those jump back in time and told the story of one of the villains from the past, or some of them tied into Forever Evil. This one is told in the present, like some of the others. It's told in the present by they're not the Fates. It's done in such a different way. Again, it's the juxtaposition stuff. But he's clearly some unstoppable being that she's gonna have to face at some point because that's how these stories go. Now, it is part of a larger story, as most things are, it seems. The firstborn is introduced in Wonder Woman New 52 era of 2011, number 13, and he remains the primary bad guy for all intents and purposes until the end of the run, issue 35. It's such a great story, and obviously he feels like an unstoppable character, but it's all about Wonder Woman getting built up and built up and built up. So she starts as as what you know Wonder Woman to be, and she's becoming more powerful over the course of the story. So by the time she's able to face him, she's pretty hardcore. But it's done in such a great way. And the way that the gods are treated in this, they're not wearing sheets like they were in the George Perez run. They look a lot more modern. They
No
wear
togas.
suits,
Yeah.
no togas. It's a no toga party. It's such a different take. They later reversed it and made out it was all a ploy by Zeus, and that's not necessarily a spoiler. I would ignore that. I was really not happy that they did that. But you can just ignore it. It happened. It's fine. It's a great story. Just read it from start to finish and have some goddamn fun. Literal goddamn fun.
I'm not the biggest Azzarello fan. I know some people swear by like 100 bullets and things like that, and I know he's got a strong bibliography of work, but I
Yeah.
really, really enjoy this Wonder Woman run. And it's him. Cliff Chang is on a lot of the art. I forget the other artist's name who's
There's a
heavily
few
featured.
different artists, but like ACO does the art on this chapter, but there's a number of artists. But it's considered to be the Azarello Cliff Chang run, but
Yeah,
I think Chang does like half the issues or something like that. But he
yeah.
he does all the character designs and everything. He kind of sets the tone for it. I mean, this is how it looks.
And it's a nice self-contained Wonder Woman story as well. I think they've
Yeah,
retconned everything, but don't worry about that.
they did. Ignore that.
That's
But
nice.
yes, if
That's
you
very
do want a
nice.
new 52 Wonder Woman reading order, though, you just so happen to want one, you can find one at omniversecomics.guide. Yes, you can.
You don't say, sir. You don't
Oh,
say.
I say.
My number five. I'm
Yeah.
going back to Greg Rucka. I'm going to go
Okay.
to the beginning of his run, issues 195 when he comes onto the book to 200. The villain that I'm going to bring up in this one is not necessarily a superpowered villain, although there are Silver Swan is the major bad guy that she faces in this
Really?
showdown. And what the interesting thing is that in this case, Silver Swan is a cybernetically altered Vanessa Capitelis. I think that's
Yeah,
the right
that's
name.
right. Yeah.
And it's her and her mom are introduced at the beginning of the George Perez run. In those first
Yeah.
six issues, they're the two people who take Diana in and kind of integrate her into the real the man's world, if you will. And it's very cool to see that they remain as main characters throughout this series, even up to this point. We're getting close to issue 200 here. So
Mm.
Vanessa Capitelis has been cybernetically altered, and she faces off against Wonder Woman, which is, of course, a terrible situation that Diana
Mm.
finds herself in because she adores this young girl like her own sister. But the villain I'm going to mention is Veronica Cale, who
Oh,
in these issues is a media mogul who absolutely detests, despises Wonder Woman, who is a ambassador at this point for Themyscira. She has released a book that is getting all kinds of public attention and scrutiny. And Veronica Cale is hell bent on completely ruining the reputation and life of Diana on different levels. So she's doing it through the media, she's doing it with scandals taking place, violent scandals taking place, trying to link everything to Wonder Woman, and then also behind the scenes putting certain villains in place to have Diana face them. So Veronica Cale throughout this Greg Rucka run where she's introduced here, she plays a pretty pivotal role as a villain behind the scenes in different variations. As Diana faces her usual villains, Veronica Cale is that, I guess you could say, Lex Luthor or Maxwell Lord
yeah.
kind of figure who is pulling
I think that's a
strings
fair comparison.
to ruin Diana's life. But she's introduced here in these first six issues. Six issues, yeah, that's about right. Up to issue 200. And that's the start of the Greg Rucka run, which a lot of great stories follow. You mentioned the tail end of it with Sacrifice, which is huge, but a lot of those pieces begin being put into play here. And the payoff with Sacrifice, it's really worthwhile, especially when the beginning of this story is people trying to ruin Diana's reputation through media,
Right.
which
Right.
comes back to haunt her later. It never goes away. So this is a good little nugget that begins that sort of thread.
It sounds like such a good era for having those, for building up those long running storylines with each of the core DC characters.
Yeah.
With Rucker on Wonder Woman, um, Jeff Johns on Green Lantern, and it was all lengthy runs and building things up and building things up, and then you hit these big events, and it's multiple payoffs.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes the event worth reading.
Yeah. Everybody at that time at DC, just prior to Infinite Crisis and then post Infinite Crisis, it was really like a brain trust because
Mm,
Greg Rucka
yeah,
was on Superman and Gail Simone
Grant
was on
Morrison on Batman.
Superman. Yeah. Grant Morrison was on Batman. Um, no, I don't think Grant
Or
Morrison
was
was
that
on
no? He
Batman
that
yet.
was afterwards. That
Yeah.
was afterwards.
Trying to think who was on Batman before that. But
Um, it was I've forgotten his name. The one that did Under the Red Hood,
oh, Judd Winnick.
Judd Winnick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everybody, and again, Judd Winnick too, all of that brain trust, Jeff Johns, Gail Simone, Greg Rucka, Judd Winnick, all of them were really working to have all these pieces fit into place with what was happening in the universe. But Greg Rucka's run on Wonder Woman is a high watermark moment for the character, for sure.
Incidentally, if anyone is reading the Absolute titles, so if anyone's reading Absolute Wonder Woman, Veronica Cale is a big player in that series. So if you want to know how the original Veronica Cale behaved, the Greg Rucka run is a good place to look. So this could be a really good story to pick up for that if you do want to know where she got her beginnings.
Dave, close us out with your number five.
All right, then. There were a number of villains I wanted to include, or some of which I'd never read stories about before. And I read a number of different storylines with different villains, and I just don't think I was getting the best of them. But one villain that's always really intrigued me, even though he just seems so simple, is Dr. Psycho. He's a very, very small dude
Hmm.
with a big head, bushy black hair, crazy eyeballs, and I think is he a telepath? I think he's a telepath of some description because he's actually a Golden Age character. So there was a version of him from Earth 2, which is the Golden Age era, and then there was a version of him for Earth 1, and that's what I was going to try and track down because he even had like a superhero persona in Earth 1 continuity. But I thought, no, got to jump ahead to the George Perez run, the end of the George Perez run. So you showed volume 1, I'm showing a volume 3
Wow.
towards the very end. So it's just before War of the Gods. It's Wonder Woman 54 to 55. It's a two-parter, but actually the effects of the storyline are felt definitively in issue 56, and it's implied that some of the stuff that happens before issue 54 is the reason why it was all happening was because of this new character, or new for the post-crisis continuity. It's by George Perez. It's written by George Perez. The art's by Jill Thompson. It's incredibly creepy. So he's actually trying to mess with Vanessa Capitelis, and Wonder Woman's trying to prevent this, and Apollo is trying to help her protect Vanessa, this 14-year-old girl. And of course, at this point, her mum has kind of had enough. Like, we've loved having you in our lives, and over time, like we're just getting drawn into these terrible things. And this is one of the creepiest things. Dr. Psycho is a psycho. I mean, he appears to be a telepath. He can take control of people. He can make them see things that aren't really there. Wonder Woman and Apollo are at each other's throats, literally, during the build-ups before they realize that someone else is playing them. But it's super creepy because he's discovered by this woman who's pregnant. And it's not clear what her fate is during this, but he basically figures he's got a mind in there that he's never tried to manipulate. It's not even been out in the world yet. It's like one of the creepiest things. He's trying to manipulate an unborn child's mind. And it's like, that is so dark. What an intro to for a villain. I mean, he goes on to join the Secret Society of Supervillains. He's considered one of the bigger villains in the DC universe. He's just not necessarily one of the best known, but I love those kind of crazy characters. That's probably why I start reading Batman stories so much because you get a lot of crazy characters. But he's almost like a Batman villain for Wonder Woman in that way. It's very dark, very manipulative, and just insane and eerie and unnerving. And it doesn't feel like any of the other stories that I was reading. So it's an oddball one. They all are, it seems, the ones that I've read to build up to this. But it's a can you call it a fun read? If you like kind of feeling disturbed, then you're going to have a lot of fun reading this two-part story. But I understand there's a storyline later where he comes back and he almost manipulates Vanessa into thinking she's Wonder Woman as well. He's all about playing with people's mind.
Yeah.
And
He
I
was
don't normally like telepaths as villains. They kind of annoy me. You
hmm,
know, I cut when the Shadow King comes back into X-Men. I just such an eye roll. Like, off. We've done it. Just once is plenty. Just kill him off. But there's something about this little guy. I think it's because he is real still. You know, you can still get to him. But there's something unknown. Like you wouldn't want him near you because he's so creepy. It's kind of got
understood.
that. He's like a living nightmare. Really creepy stuff. But I do kind of want to read more Doctor Psycho stories.
He's featured quite a bit in the Rucka stuff, and in
Is
that,
he?
yeah, I think in
Ah,
that for those first six
brilliant.
issues, he's also one of the villains involved with the whole Silver Swan thing. So, yeah, it'll be up your alley. Good pick. Good pick.
Oh, Omega Bird said Dr. Psycho is a terrifying looking little fucker, but his dress sense is impeccable. It's absolutely true.
That is
I'm not reading the last bit, but it won't make sense for most people. Who knows who the crankies are at this point, dude?
true.
Um,
I know my list was heavily Greg Rucka and George Perez this time. I just want to give an honorable mention to the Gail Simone run, which there is also an omnibus for that, which takes place post Infinite Crisis, just before Final Crisis era. I haven't read it recently to be fresh enough to recommend it, but as a whole, there is a lot to like there. And Phil Jimenez as well. There's a storyline with J.M. DeMatteis that is often well regarded as a Wonder Woman villain-centric story.
I think that was one I was going to read, and I just ran out of time.
I did read that one as well. It didn't quite make my
Uh,
list, but it's I always mention JMD, so I wanted to be a little bit more honest with my pick this time as far as what I remembered and recollected with my most recent reads.
No, that's cool. Funnily enough, I was going to piss a lot of people off by recommending a story from Absolute Wonder Woman, as it seems the popular opinion to have at the minute is you only like Absolute Wonder Woman if you've never read Wonder Woman. But I mean, I have read a fair chunk of Wonder Woman here and there, maybe not consistently, but I don't agree with this statement at all. But there's a great storyline, the second story arc, which is a two-parter, which features Hades as the villain. It's issue 6 and 7, I think. The art's incredible. Just such a beautiful book to read, and I really
Hmm.
like the story a lot. So he makes a great villain as well, but it's again a very different approach to the villain because it's an alternate universe thing.
Right. These comments just throw me off. I apologize. VC Scrubs is trying to give Omega Bread some competition, and it's just ridiculous. Yes, Giganta would have been a another good pick. We'll do this again. I enjoyed reading these Wonder Woman stories. I feel that sometimes she's a character that we forget how many good storylines there are
Yeah,
in her publishing history. I don't know if it gets sometimes enough shine, so this is a fun episode to kind of reflect on a lot of Diana's good stuff.
I think there's a lot to mine. There's loads out there, so
Yeah,
go out and find stuff. Just go out and read some of this stuff. Even if you whether you want to jump back to the 80s, New 52, some of the modern stuff. It sounds like Tom King's doing some really interesting stuff on the title at the moment.
cool.
I was going to try that out as well for this, but didn't. There we go.
Dave, this has been a
Hello.
blast.
Yeah,
It's not an incoming. We love our incoming episodes, but it's fun to bring on the bad guys sometimes.
it's good to dip into some Wonder Woman.
Yeah, always not I'm not even gonna start with you guys. Everybody who's with us on Twitch, thank you for joining us. We always enjoy your company and your comments and some of your insights on things that we might get wrong or have forgotten about. Everybody that's watching on YouTube, please hit that rate and subscribe button and please visit us at omniversecomics.guide. There's a lot of good
The
content there.
guide.
A lot a lot of good episodes, previous episodes, other Bring on the Bad Guys episodes. Check us out, omniversecomics.guide. Dave,
Yeah.
till next time, my friend.
Till next time, my dude. And as Wonder Woman would say herself, I'm sure, peace.